Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. So how did your Pride thing go?
It was fun. I actually got to march in the parade.
Yay, it's been years.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked It's a company, that is a brand ambassador for various Broadway shows.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that I was ambassadoring today was Here Lies Love. It's a Filipino show.
Oh.
All Filipino cast. It's made by Filipinos. The music was written by David Byrne and Fatboy Slim. And David Byrne is in a band called Talking Heads.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That David Byrne.
Yeah, that David Byrne.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, him.
Him.
Oh, him.
Just like one of those people who is just a pure artist, so they cannot help themselves but be an artist.
Right.
And I saw he had a show on Broadway like a year or so ago that I went to see, but I don't follow the band or anything. I know like one or two songs.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're an 80s band.
Exactly. And it was basically a concert of all of his music that he formed into a weird kind of artsy narrative. But because I don't know the songs very well, I could not understand a single word that anybody was saying.
Except for burning down the house.
That's the one. That's the one I knew. That is the one that I knew.
Like, I know that one.
And everyone else, I'm just like, okay, I mean, this is fine, but the people around you love him and are obviously super into it, so that's cool.
Right.
The show was not for me, and that's fine. It's fine. Have to be. Anyway, back to this one. So we were marching in the parade, which anytime I've worked the parade before has been kind of on the outskirts, just standing, organizing, or even just standing with the crowd and handing out flyers or swag and stuff like that. But it was way better being in the parade and marching, and you get the energy of everybody around you.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've only marched in it once, and I actually just posted a picture on Facebook from when we did it with the New York City Opera. Because I got to bring the dog. Brent was there. He marched in drag.
Yeah.
And it was only like partial drag. So he was heels and a fabulous wig.
Yeah, those were his baby drag days.
Yes.
So he didn't have like the full...
He didn't have a full character yet.
Yep.
He hadn't fully developed his drag character, but he did it. He marched the entire parade in those heels, and we did it in cowboy boots because we were doing the cowboy opera, the Fanchula. No, I think it was Fanchula first. Was it Brokeback? Oh, it must have been Brokeback, because why would we be doing Fanchula during Pride? You're right. Sorry. The other cowboy opera. But oh my God, it was so much fun. You're exactly right. The energy from the crowd, from just the people watching, was amazing. It was so there. I hate to say the word, like there was so much love, but there was just so much positive energy.
It's just full of joy. And it was just a joy to be around and in.
Yeah. I loved every second of it. There was just so much positive emotion there. And it's not about, I hate to like, it's not about sex and sexuality and gender. It's about pride, and it's about love. And it's not to say that those other elements aren't part of it. Yeah. But the overall emotion is just pride, joy, pride, and So I loved it. So I'm so glad you got to march in it because oh my gosh.
Yes.
It was just so cool to watch other people who were marching and how they interacted with the crowd. You know, it was great. Loved
Yeah.
it.
I am like beat though. It was a long march. It was a hot day. It was thankfully cloudy most of the day, but it was very humid. So I was just sticky
Yeah.
and carrying around bags of very heavy flyers that I have bruises on my shoulders from the
Oh
straps of the
God.
bag like hanging down. And I was gonna try to go to my super's farewell like potluck party
Felix.
because also in my neighborhood there's a giant festival of some kind. There's a stage set up near the
Oh,
Starbucks, like an actual they built
oh
a
my
stage.
God.
There's tents everywhere. It looks kind of fun and cool, but I'm just like
But
I've been
it's
surrounded by literally
that's
millions
a
of people all day. I
yeah.
can't
And
do
that's gonna be a rowdy neighborhood
it.
already, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
add in a festival. Wow.
Yeah, and the festival right next
Wow.
door to our courtyard. So even if I could, I did want to say goodbye to him because he's such a good super.
Yeah.
But he'll be there for a couple more days, so I can at least.
Okay, you can stop by. Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say we've lucked out when it's come to supers.
Yeah, I've
You
heard
know,
some horror. Everyone's like, "Oh, what? You like your super?" And I'm like, "I love my super. I love
I
my other super too. He was
right?
really nice."
Fernando, was that Fernando?
Yeah, I think so.
Or Federico.
Federico.
Federico. And then there was James in
Oh,
LA.
jeez.
Oh James. Oh Sammy, hi, I've got a problem. Um yeah, when you said that he was retiring, I was like, oh my God, I was thinking back on our supers. We've had some really fabulous people.
Yeah.
So makes me sad, but glad that he's retiring
Yeah,
because who
he's
wants to be
done.
a
He's
yeah.
so done. He's just like, I'm ready to retire. I want to live my life in Puerto Rico. I was like, man, I don't blame you.
Right? Stop taking care of all of us. Go
Yes.
do. Well, none of what we just said has anything to do with what we're about to do,
Yeah.
which I find hysterical. The only thing I'll say about this episode and like me is that while I was doing the research for this, I was sitting outside on a little porch I have and watching the TV on the inside. So I wasn't like super close to it. And a bird shit on my notebook.
Hey,
So
that's good luck.
I was like, what the hell is this? So I was like, I'm enjoying the outside. I'm getting some fresh air. And then I was like, what the? All right, turn that page. So that's my connection to this episode is a bird shit on me. Well,
Oh,
shit
well.
on my notes.
I don't have a fun story about this. I just was giggling the entire time.
It was kind of a giggly episode, wasn't
It
it?
was, and there were so many. I don't know if I would call them Easter eggs. That's kind of what I was calling them, but I guess hidden hints or
Yeah. Yeah, I would call it foreshadowing, but it was like foretelling because it like totally foretells what's going to happen later.
Well, I meant in the way that they're like,
We know, but they don't know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes, I enjoyed that too.
yes.
But a part of me was like, get there faster. I was like, why don't you know this? We know this about you. Why don't you know this? Get there
Yeah.
faster.
Season 4, Episode 17, It's a Terrible Life. At Sandover Bridge and Iron Incorporated, Dean is Dean Smith, the button-down director of sales and marketing. Sam is Sam Wesson, a cubicle-dwelling tech support guy. What the heck is going on? Or is it what the hell? Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. God, I hate that so much.
That's really bad.
Hold on.
Oh, Jesus.
Written by Sarah Gamble, which totally makes sense now that I'm seeing it for the first time, and directed by James Conway.
Okay. So since they gave a spoiler away with Dean Smith and Sam Wesson, I will point out that it took me far longer than it should have to make that connection.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. And when I finally did, I hit pause and I literally put my head down because I was like, wow.
I will say, I did not get it until this time, this kind of watch through. But any other time I've seen this episode, it did not click for me, or if it did, I completely forgot. But that was really kind of clever. I love
it. Was totally clever, but it took me like I literally had to just stop and like shake my head and be like, Valerie, why did it take you? Because they'd said it a number of times, you know? And I was thinking about it. I was like, why those names? Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about the one where all the strippers were named after Disney princesses.
Right.
It was until the second watch through, and I was like, oh, Belle, Ariel, Jasmine.
So the want to point out that there's one headliner guest artist in this episode for me, and it's Kurt Fuller, who is for me famous for Psych, for his role as the coroner on Psych.
That's right. He is.
He's done a million things. He's that face you see a million times, and he's always on a series just long enough that you get to know them, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
But on Psych, brilliant comedic acting. So when his character pops up, I'll tell you who he is. But I loved him. I forgot how much I hate him as this character.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like you love to hate. I mean, he's so good that you hate him because he's that good.
Yeah.
So
he had not seen Supernatural before when he was asked to do this, but then and he did a little bit of research and saw the huge following that it had, then he was like, yeah, I'll totally do this.
I totally do this. So, and he was fantastic. You just hate him. I mean, you love him right now because you don't know who he is, but then I was like, no.
Yeah. That's funny. I just started rewatching Psych and I haven't gotten to him yet. But in the first episode of Psych, Chris Heyerdahl was one of the people, the guy who we just saw get killed as Alistair. He was in it for a decent chunk of guest star pop up.
Yes. And he didn't talk like this.
He did not talk like that. No, he taught a normal.
He's great. I'm not like I don't want to say I'll search him, but it's like if I see his name, it's like I know who he is now.
Yeah. Okay, starting with this episode. It's a very quick description I'm gonna use. Why was Dean brought back from hell? Because he has work to do. He's the righteous man who began it, so he has to end it. And Dean, the recap ends with, "It's not me, I can't do it." It's just a bunch of scenes of like him and Cass and rehashing this conversation. It was a pretty quick recap.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that like the last line he says is, "It's not me." And then it segues into an episode where he's not himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Y'all. So the now is a montage. We don't get to see anybody murdered, which we usually see. There's a song that's underscoring the montage, which I called "Oh So Good." I don't know if that's the actual title, but it's by the Kinks.
It's called, at least through the subtitles, it said "A Well-Respected Man."
Oh, well-respected man. But he's oh so good, and the montage is Dean, but it's Dean not as we know him. It's Dean dressed in like a bespoke suit.
Yeah.
He's in this like fully chromed out apartment. He's drinking a coffee with steamed milk. He's getting dressed to go to his like office job. He drives a Prius. And the only like break in this musical montage is when he starts up the car and like rock and roll music is playing on the radio. And at first we're like, okay, there's Dean. And then he changes the station to like a news station, to like NPR or something. He's like, yeah, this is more me. Yeah, and he drives off in his Prius listening to the
he was like, yuck, what is this?
Which is rock and roll stuff. Who would have? Yeah. And so on off he goes to his office job in the city high rise. I just want to point out that his license plate on the Prius said Ohio, so I'm assuming this is taking place in Ohio. My little note. There's no other MapQuesty moment. So
yeah, he's like a true finance bro. Like he's got like the corporate office high rise, beautiful view.
Yeah.
in some sort of developer business.
Say, yeah. He's literally wearing a white collared shirt,
Yeah, yeah.
like total bespoke white collared shirt,
And suspenders.
suspenders. He's clean shaven.
He's
So,
eating salad.
right? And even like pulling his tie out of the way so he doesn't drip sauce on his
Yeah.
salad. I love that he's also taking phone calls with his like Bluetooth earpiece.
Yeah, that was such a
Walking around the
a
office.
mark
Yeah.
of the time period is those giant little
The giant
Bluetooths with the
Bluetooth
sticks.
jawbone. Yes. And
But his, I'm sure, was supposed to look like really sleek and
yes,
expensive for the time.
which we now laugh at, of course. And then he also, just to show you sign of the times, he's like bro talking with guys about working out or not working out and what cleanse they're on, because he's like, oh, I'm holding some pounds because I've, such a sedentary lifestyle.
Mhm.
And they talk about the cleanse, which was at the time
The
lemon water, cayenne, and maple syrup. I remember this. I never did it, but like everyone I know was walking around with a freaking bottle of lemon water with like maple syrup.
and
It
cayenne
was,
pepper.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I never did it either, but it's not completely dead because when I was living in it's probably bigger in LA than it is most other places just because it's a superficial
Right.
town. But there was a girl I worked with at the restaurant who was a model. She was already very skinny, but she was always doing the master cleanse and she could not do anything. Like she was so weak from like 2 or 3 days of drinking lemon juice with cayenne
Right.
pepper. Then she was like, "Oh, I can barely lift this tray." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you got to fucking
Yeah.
eat a piece of bread or something." Like, you
Yeah. Yeah. The maple syrup isn't going to sustain you.
no, especially with a
Uh,
really physical job like waitressing.
Oh my god, that's very funny. Well, that's like the one time where like I asked you to run a 5K with me and you
Yeah.
did, and I totally pooped out before the end of the race, and you like sped on ahead, and I was all disappointed, and you're like, "Yeah, you had lettuce for breakfast." I was like,
Yeah.
What were you thinking?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I thought I could do it."
Uh,
Ah, yes, dieting. Here's what you lose, friends. Friends is what you lose. Not wait. So the end of the song happens, and that's the end of the work day for Dean. So that montage ends with like elevator ding, elevator
mhm.
doors open at the end of the day. Dean's going home. And he gets on the elevator, and the camera pans, and we see Sam. Sam's in the elevator,
Mhm.
and
Who's just
Sam
staring at
staring at Dean.
Dean.
Sam is not Sam. He's wearing some sort of like logoed work polo shirt, like some sort of polo uniform.
And Sam is like, "Do I know you? I feel like we know each other." Kind of
Yeah.
giving these hints, but Dean Smith, who there was a little cut to his
Oh,
nameplate
his
on the
name on the
door.
door.
So we
Yep.
know that he's Dean Smith. So
Yeah.
it's like, what the hell is going on here? And now Dean is like, "Yeah, save it for the health club, pal," thinking it's a little gay.
It's a
Come
lie.
on.
Right. Which, gross, knowing what we know about the brothers.
Yeah.
So funny that he's like grossed out by Sam hitting on him, and then it goes to the title splash, which is the scream, which is ah,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. All
gross.
right. So just a couple things which may not mean anything. I may have looked too much into it.
Bring
Um,
it.
but I was wondering about the choices of the names of the people and the business. Usually, it's just like, oh, it's probably somebody on the prop
In
team
the cast,
or
yeah.
somebody's cousin in Mississippi or something. But because of what this vision is and what we learn what it is at the end,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's deeper than, I don't know. But the business name is Sandover. The only thing that I could find possibly it being referred to is a epic poem called The Changing Light at Sandover, which was written by a guy named James Merrill, who's a big fan of the occult, and it's basically about Ouija board conversations that he has. But it was the only thing that I could find that was tied to the occult in any kind of way.
Okay. I didn't even find that. I was
We also saw in this little opener Dean's boss, who just comes in and they do like a good stuff, big things,
Yeah.
good stuff,
Yeah.
like little finger. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Finger point,
finger guns.
And his name was Mr. Adler. Maybe this is referring to somebody named Alfred Adler, who was a founder of a school of psychology who believed that contributing to others was how the individual feels a sense of worth and belonging in the family and society, which I thought kind of ties into the message we hear
later
at the end.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? There is, yes, I'm going to say yes, that's completely possible. It's not just bang you in the face obvious, but
yeah,
it's definitely possible given that if you I hate to say this, but if you look on the, I won't say wiki per se, but any of the supernatural conversations, there's so many people who try to tie in something that wasn't necessarily intended, that what you just said is not out of the realm of possibility. Their stuff, a lot of it is out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to be one of those people.
No. That's why I say I don't think so. I think what you're saying is far more approachable and believable. Potentially, yes, that the writers and the meant that they did their research, and they, just like choosing, the good man or whatever song, for Dean, who, tries so hard to be the good guy. I mean, that's very obvious. That's a very obvious choice. Whereas what you're saying is not obvious, but it's not beyond the realm of what the writers have done before.
Right.
So, wow, good for you. So, title splash.
Yeah,
and then
we come back from the title splash and we're in basically a field of cubicles, and this scene that I kept calling the grind. It's a little montage scene of like with the pencil being sharpened and
papers
printing. It's like
yes.
It's almost like the opening credits of the show The Office, where it's like someone highlighting stuff.
It's the
stapling.
We see the same thing over and over and over again. They don't even try to reshoot it. It's the same footage over and over and over again of papers being printed or copied, pencils being sharpened, phones ringing. Yeah, the daily grind.
Yeah. I also wonder if it was maybe an homage to Office Space, the movie, but I haven't seen that movie in a million years, but it feels like that would have been in Office
I think it's an homage to any office. I think that particular is just any office life. I think later on there's an homage to Office Space. But I think this is just your typical grind. This is your daily office grind.
Yes.
What's I find hysterical about this is that Sam is an IT guy, like answering phones in this, like you said, this field of cubicles, little cubicle farm, and they couldn't have made this thing any smaller for this giant of a man to fit in.
Speaking of, I felt like Sam looked extra giant in that elevator scene with Dean. There was something about the pan up to Sam, and the camera was kind of pointing down at Dean. I just felt like Sam, the difference of height between Dean and Sam was extraordinary.
Yes.
That scene.
Yes.
It made me very happy.
Well, I think it also just pointed out how overwhelmed Dean was by this man staring at him. Yeah. By this strange man staring at him, that he was also a larger man.
Yeah. So yeah, he's in his yellow polo taking a tech call of telling someone to turn it off and then on again while he's playing with a vampire bobblehead.
So I have to add a little personal story. My brother used to be IT, like he used to do the phone calls. And one of the funniest stories he ever told me was unplug it, plug it back in, turn it off, turn it on type of thing. That somebody called and said that their cup holder was broken. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, my computer came with a cup holder and it's broken. What do I do?
Oh no.
It was the CD tray.
Oh, no.
That, you hit eject and the whole tray comes out. The guy put his coffee cup on it thinking that it was an ejectable, retractable cup holder. And
what a dumbass.
He snapped the CD drive. And so my brother describing, like how, like walking this guy through, he's like, your cup holder.
Yeah.
And then when my brother finally figured it out, he was like, oh. The paperwork he had to fill out on that
Oh,
call
I'm
was
sure.
hysterical. So poor IT people, I feel for you.
Yes, and I'm sure that they constantly have to answer with, "Did you try turning it off and then on again?" He's obviously had to do this a lot. So
Yes.
he is, chatting with a friend of his also at work, but is definitely an anti-work kind of guy. He's not wearing the uniform.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
steals office supplies from the kitchen
Like
when they go.
a lot of them.
Like 3 boxes of pencils, and I don't know anyone who needs 3 boxes of pencils. This is purely just
Just
spite
because.
against the man.
They try to get other guys to go with them on break. It's like, hey, it's break time. And
Mhm.
they try to get like other guys to go with them. And this one guy who I'm assuming would normally go with them is like, no, I can't, no breaks. And he's just like pounding away at the keyboard, like, like, frantically pounding at this keyboard. They're like, oh, all right, well, don't have to work that hard, but
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
So they leave him to his typing and they go off to steal office supplies and
Make
to drink,
coffee and
make
stuff like that.
coffee.
I also like the little clip about someone making popcorn in the microwave, which is just a no-no when you're in an office environment. So
Right.
I just joined corporate life, I don't know, about 4 years ago or so. And now all of the jokes about corporate office life make sense to me.
Yes, there's one of those coming up too.
Yeah.
There's a big one. But yeah, I thought it was massive foreshadowing. I mean, like again, slap you on the face foreshadowing. When they walk into the break room, the first camera shot is coming out of the microwave, like the camera was in the microwave with the bag of popcorn. So that when the door opens and someone takes the popcorn out of the microwave, the camera was in there and it follows them out. I was like, okay, microwave, got it. Ding, ding, ding.
That's funny. I did not even think about that as
Oh,
foreshadowing. I was honestly just like they were highlighting someone making popcorn in
as
an
a no no.
office. Yes, been like, oh no, now that person just made the whole office smell like popcorn. And then there's
Hmm.
that little post-it note you see above that says, "Don't heat your fish in here; it
It
stinks."
stinks. Yeah. Yeah. Well, were you at the theater when we were doing
Yeah, Wayne. It was Candide. Yeah, Wayne was making popcorn.
well, but there was that, but then there was just recently the All Is Calm at that theater up in Connecticut
Uh-huh.
where one of the cast members forgot that his microwave was in the popcorn and basically set it on fire. I had to run to the dressing room and like take this flaming bag of popcorn and throw it onto the street, like open a side door to the theater and
Oh
throw it
yeah,
onto the
I remember
sidewalk.
you telling us that. I was not there for it, but I remember
Oh my
now you
god.
telling us.
We got in so much trouble because the theater was like, "Did you guys burn popcorn back here?" I was like, "Yeah." The entire show, the entire theater just smelled like
Burnt
wimolated
popcorn.
popcorn. Oh god, it was terrible. I was like, "Dude, it was on fire." It's like you didn't
Yeah.
just burn it; it was on
Yeah.
fire.
So these
It,
next few scenes crack me up because his friend Ian is totally ragging on him about the dreams that he's been having, which are about monsters and vampires. The most recent one that he's had was about him saving a Grim Reaper named Tessa from a bunch of demons. And
right?
and Ian is completely tickled by this. He's just like, "Oh, Harry Potter, you wizard,
Yeah,
D&D."
Dungeons and
He throws
Dragons.
out every
Yes.
nerd like insult or reference that you can think of. But
But Dean's like, I mean, Sam's like, but
yeah, he's got nothing.
yeah.
He can't really defend himself. And then later in his cubicle, he falls asleep again, and we see a bunch of flashes of season 1.
Oh my, right, right. These are his dreams. It's like
Yeah.
we all know what they are, which is,
Yeah.
lots of killing of ghosts. And one of the dreams ends with like Dean. That's when Dean saws the head off that first vampire and it's just like
Yeah.
splattered with blood. A little bit of
Yeah.
foreshadowing.
Yeah. He wakes up and shortly thereafter meets Dean again inside of the elevator, who is still very obviously uncomfortable with this tall kid.
With staring at him.
And
Because
even,
now we know
yeah,
that
and
Sam has been dreaming about him.
about it. And in this universe, whatever is happening, and we don't know yet, they are strangers to each other. They're not related at all. They have 2 different last names. There's something funky going on, obviously, but in this world that they're in, they do not know each other. And so then Sam immediately goes in, "Hey, do you believe in ghosts or like vampires?" Stuff like that. Totally chill about it.
But he's asking the way Dean usually asks somebody, which is like, "So was there a ghost? No ghost? So was there a vampire?"
Yeah.
And he's giving him the same response that everybody always gives Sam and Dean, which is, "Dude, no. You're a little bit crazy, so I'm just gonna walk away."
Yeah. You
Um,
overshare. Just a hint. Later in the day, when Sam is again just mind-numbingly telling people to turn on and off their machine,
Yep.
he's looking up vampires.
The supernatural Google. But it turns out his buddy Ian has gotten a call from HR.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Ian's been called HR probably for stealing pencils. So off Ian goes to HR, passing by the other guy. I think his name's Paul.
Yes.
Still frantically typing, pounding away at his computer, like, no, what, no. And it turns out he's lost all of his files, which who hasn't that happened to? Who hasn't accidentally deleted something that the company needed? So this poor guy pounding away at his computer.
And Sam is just like, whatever, big deal. We're just tech support. It's not that whatever we do is not that important. It's fine. But for Paul, it is like the end of the world. And we cut to later. It's been several hours later. It's dark at night. He is still trying to recover these files in a very frantic mode, and they are not there.
Yeah, you finally see the little note at the end that just says no files found.
Yeah.
That's it. They're gone.
And so as it's 2 things happen at the same time. One, we see our ghostly signs appear. So he's got the cold breath. I guess that's it.
And we hear it. we hear the sigh. We hear like a ghostly sigh, and then we see Paul and we see his breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we also see him become his nervousness disappears.
Yeah, it's like he's suddenly detached from everything. He just becomes I don't want to say robotic, but he's now disconnected from what the manicness is gone. He just stands up and walks away from his cubicle, goes into the break room. He takes a plastic fork and breaks all the tines off one at a time, opens up the microwave, jams the fork in. It's like, oh, okay, now I see what's happening. He presses 10 minutes on the microwave, sticks his head in and presses go and literally nukes his head.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans up to that sign that says, please don't cook your fish in here. It stinks. I was like, that's bad. That was like, that's supernatural. That was bad.
And actually, the little fun tidbits about this scene is the guy who does these effects, the visual effects in editing. No one asked him to do this, but he was like, you know what?
What'd he do?
I gotta well, they were just like, so this guy's gonna microwave his head. So it wasn't supposed to be. This is not really possible in the realm of things. Like you can't
nuke your head. Yeah,
you can't really nuke your head like that. So this guy, he did a composite shot, I guess, of cheese being melted in the microwave, and that's how he got the effect of like the skin doing
slightly melting off his face.
Yeah, and like bubbling and burning a little bit. So that's how he got that. It was just supposed to be like a black smoke kind of thing.
Right. He went a step further.
He took several steps further. And then when he showed it to Eric Kripke and Sarah Gamble, they like giggled. They're like, "Oh yes, we love this.
This is far better than anything we wanted."
Yes. Remember, like maybe even a season or 2 ago, I was like, "This is like a Kripke Gamble special," because they're the 2 like most demented minds.
The bloodiest, guttiest, yes, explosionist, yes. That's hysterical.
So this was the editor kind of like, how can I just make them happy? How can I make this even more twisted?
Oh my God.
And he succeeded. Awesome. It really was just like, it made me cringe.
It was a great effect. It was, yeah, because he melted a little bit before he like sparked and smoked. Yeah. So the next morning, while the coroner is like zipping up the body and taking it away, Sam and Dean like catch each other's eyes.
Yeah,
over
watching the scene.
watching the crime scene. They kind of catch each other's eyes. And Dean seems like a little bit more interested, like, huh, a little bit more interested than he was yesterday about the ghost and vampire asking. Now he seems
Yeah.
like, okay, a little bit interested.
Yeah.
And his coworker says something to Dean, like Dean's like, "Have you ever seen anything like this before?" And his coworker is like, "No, and I'll never, see popcorn the same again," which is a very Dean thing to say,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of funny. It's the coworker who answers for Dean. Both Sam and Dean go back to their offices and start researching, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah.
And they both came up with the same answers.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure if Sam really did any researching. I think he just knew because it was his friend. But they both came to the same conclusion of this guy was 2 weeks away from retirement. Why would he want to kill himself? He was
no matter how
he was 2 weeks away from freedom.
Yeah. And Sam at the same time notices that his buddy Ian, who went to HR, is now wearing like the building uniform, the company yellow polo.
Yeah, Mr. Anti-Work is now completely a drone. He's wearing the yellow polo. He's shaved.
His hair is brushed. Yeah.
He's doing work, and he wants Sam to leave him alone so he can do his work
more. Yes, exactly.
Like, talk about a 180 from my hero, if you will. Like the guy who's just there to screw the company out of as much money as possible.
Right? You get paid by the hour. We get paid by the hour. Exactly. But he's like hunched over the computer and is like, gotta work. But Ian gets a call from Dean, come up to the office. So Ian goes up to Dean's office and Dean explains, "Hey, you filled out this form wrong. Just take it back and refill it out because, we need we need all the numbers to match, thanks, buddy."
Yeah.
The finger guns again. But Ian's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did this. This is terrible. It's all wrong. It's all going wrong." And Dean is like, "Buddy, hey, no, it's okay. It's not that big a deal. We can make this work." But Ian like freaks out and runs out of the office.
Yeah. He runs to the bathroom. He's a complete nervous wreck. And while Dean tries to comfort him, ghostly things abound. We see their cold breath. We hear the sound effects. The faucets turn on. Pink jello comes out of it.
It's the soap. The soap dispensers. It's the soap dispensers turned on. Because everything's automatic, So the sinks automatically turn on. The soap dispensers.
That did not. I thought it was supposed to be blood, but I don't know why it was so like milky pink. It's like, this looks like the pink jello that my mother makes for Thanksgiving sometimes. It
was just
a soap.
They should have cut that effect. Like, who cares that the soap spews out of the soap dispensers? But that's what that was.
Well, it did kind of look interesting. It was more interesting than just the water pooling up. It was like a kind of viscous kind of goo that
But it was the
out.
Same thing. It's like, what the fuck is that? It took a second for me to be like, oh, it's the soap coming out of the soap dispensers.
It didn't even come to me that it was the soap. But while all of this is happening, Ian pulls one of his stolen pencils out of his pocket and then stabs himself in the neck with it.
Where there was much blood. Much supernatural blood. It was like spurt, fire hose, blood. Yep. And I have to say that though in this moment, Dean was a little bit more Dean than we've seen him so far in this episode, where before he's like, "Dude, it's okay. We should get out of here." When he started notices like those things
crazy things happening,
he's like, "We should go. We should not be in here." But then he sees, Ian stab himself in the neck and he still steps forward. He's like, "Oh my God." And he tries to save Ian. And when he does that, he notices a reflection of a man, like an old man in the like paper dispenser, bin. Turns around, there's no one behind him. There's no reflection. There's no man. This is bad. And Ian dies.
Yeah. But it is worth noting that he went to go help the guy and not just like run away and be like, "Oh shit, I want nothing to do with this." So
right. And he wasn't freaked out. He literally was like, "We should go. Oh my God, don't do this."
Yeah, and his instinct was to go
step forward,
help him. Yeah. And not run away. Like I feel like most finance bros would do, would just be like, "Peace out. I don't want nothing to do with this."
Yep. Oh my God. The last thing he says, before the camera cuts away. Because as he's trying to help Ian, what does he say? Somebody help me. He yells out, somebody help me, which is exactly what he yelled at the end of the season when he went to hell. When we see him chained up, being pulled apart, being suspended by chains, he yells, somebody help me. Which I thought was a nice little callback. So later.
Yeah, so then again, there's like a police coroner scene. Poor Sam has to watch his buddy, his second buddy, his probably closest buddy in the office, get wheeled away in a body bag. And the police are questioning Dean. They lock eyes again. And then later Dean is like, get up into my office now.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Who the hell are you?
Yes, you start questioning me about ghosts and then...
And now suddenly people are dying.
People are dying.
And I may have seen something, but he doesn't say that. When Sam is like, what'd you see? You saw a ghost.
Yeah. He's very excited. He's like, you saw a ghost. They both started there 3 weeks ago, by the way. There's a little exposition scene here. And a couple of these little Easter egg sprinkling things. I still don't quite know what to call them, but while they're talking, Sam is like, I feel like, there's something bigger going on. I hacked into their emails. They both had an email that said go to HR on the 14th floor, but HR is on 7.
Yeah, and Dean's like, wait, you hacked into their emails? That's what he's focused on? Yeah, so Sam has some hacking skills, and he's like, oh, well, it's something I can do.
Yeah. So Sam is maybe there's something not natural happening here, which just made me giggle.
I did too. I was like, oh, so close. Because he's like, there's something not, we're like, he's supposed to say there's something supernatural, but he didn't. He said not natural. And I was like, oh.
I think that was a better choice. I think it was a better choice to say not natural than supernatural, because that would have been too on the nose. And I
know. But it was funny because I was waiting for it.
Yes, but there was something very on the nose where Dean retorts back with, you mean you have special visions and you can see the future and you're some kind of psychic?
Psychic? Yeah. And everyone at home is like, yeah.
And of course, Sam Wesson is like, no, that would be nuts. But I did think this was funny because the last episode we just did, you were talking about this, like, what happened to psychic visions?
Where's the psychic visions? I know.
So, of course, because they mentioned room 1444, we cut to room 1444, where some other poor unfortunate soul is headed into.
Now, who wanders into, like, a locked room?
Me.
Right? Okay. So this guy, room 1444, looks terrible, but he opens the door anyway. He goes in and it's like some sort of like supply room where there's old like monitors and files and just
it's like a forgotten supply closet. It's like where all of the things go to die. Yeah. And it's dark and obviously no one is in there or has been in there for a long time. And still this guy is in there like, hello? What's going on?
Did somebody call me in here? Yeah. No. And of course, then suddenly he sees his breath. All the monitors turn on and it's staticky and glitchy. And, the camera cuts to outside the door and we hear, as do Sam and Dean, who are just dying to like check things out.
Yes.
They can't help themselves. So they're up there. They go try the doorknob. And of course it's locked. Sam, without thinking, just kicks it in. Opens the door.
Much to the surprise of both of them.
Yes, right?
Wow, that was so badass.
Yeah, that was so cool. Dean like gathers himself, but he was like, that was super impressive. And they go to try to help the guy who currently is now trapped under some metal shelving. And suddenly the ghost appears, the same ghostly guy that Dean saw, and like knocks Sam and Dean around. He has the ghost has that like electric fingers that like the ghost had during Asylum. Remember when the ghost was like going to electrocute? Yeah. So it's the same like ghosty, I'm going to electrocute you, type of thing. And he was headed towards
our third guy. And then Dean picks up a wrench and just swings it at him. And the ghost disappears, and so do the static on the screens.
Yep. Everything stops, goes back to normal. And it's like, how'd you do that? No. They're both impressed and surprised by each other's abilities.
Yes. And I love when they're back at Dean's little swanky apartment. Sam is like, how'd you know he was afraid of wrenches? I just thought that was so stupid.
Right, stupid. And also, side note, wrenches are made out of steel, not iron, which kind of took me out of it for a second, but that's okay.
Only you, Valerie. I did not even ever. All wrenches made out of steel?
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe not wrenches. Because I freaking Googled it. I Googled it. I did.
Okay, so then it didn't take you out of it because you were like, I wonder. It's not like you knew that off the top of your head.
No, but I was like, all right. I hit pause and Googled it. That's why it took me out of it. But I love that they're back at Dean's apartment and they're all stoked about what they did and how cool is it that we did those things. Dean's apartment had like a bowl of fruit on the table. He's got a fire crackling in the fireplace, but crackle as in i.e. gas fireplace.
Hold on. I just Googled. I'm just going to interject. Wrenches are made out of various metals, including iron or steel, copper, aluminum, brass, and stainless steel.
All right, check the dates. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now, maybe it was a wrench from when PT Sandover. It could have been an old PT Sandover.
I mean, he was in business since like at least 1923.
Right.
Cast iron pipe wrenches. There are some that I could buy right now.
All right, fine. I'm just going to say the wrench he picked up was steel, but okay. Thanks, Sammy.
You're welcome.
All right, so Sam is like, God, I could use a beer. And Dean's still on the cleanse. He's like, dude, I got rid of all the carbs in the house, and like hands Sam like a bottle of water. She again kind of cracks me up.
I know. It's like, who is this guy?
Who is this guy? He also has one of those home gyms in his apartment.
Oh, like a Bowflex kind of thing?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, Sam is like beginning to dig into his feelings that maybe he was destined for something different, like they've done this before. Because they were so good at this one fight. They were like, yeah, we were like, we
worked together. It was like
we had
teamwork.
This instinct. Yeah. He doesn't like his clothes. He doesn't like his job or his last name. And it's not just because he works in a cubicle, and most people feel that way. He's like, there's something in my blood.
I'm destined for something different. Destiny.
But Dean doesn't believe in destiny, much like he doesn't believe in carbs.
Which is hysterical because given he's been forced to live the life that he's been living because of fate. So we've been told.
Right. That's a whole nother, that's a very much deeper argument that the rest of the season and the next one is going to get into, and maybe like much of the rest of the show. But he does want right now to deal with what's in front of him, so he's going to do the thing that he does best, which is research.
Which all of us at home.
Yes.
Yes. But what else does he say?
He says Sammy.
Yes.
Which Sammy does not like.
It's like, did you call me Sammy? I don't know. Did I? Yeah. Don't.
All right. So we do a little research time jump, and they find the best site ever of some ghost hunting geniuses. Cue our friends, the Ghostfacers.
Oh my God. And they are brilliant in this. They literally online are now how to hunt ghosts. Like they're
the wiki. They're like a wiki.
How to hunt ghosts, like 101. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the first shot of the Ghostfacers, in the background, there's a dartboard with Sam and Dean's picture on it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. That would be hilarious.
Yes. So it's like, and it's not in any other shot, which I find hysterical. That I was like, did somebody think it was too much? Like we're all gonna be like, oh,
yeah.
Like Sam and Dean would have noticed that their faces are on a dartboard.
Yeah, that must have been maybe we shouldn't do this, but there weren't enough clips to use, or it was too late before they noticed it. So
I loved the Ghostfacers in these videos.
I do. I love them every time. I really do. I become more and more of a fan of the Ghostfacers the more that I see them, which I think is the opposite feeling of a lot of
most other people. I just love the fact that as much as they have adoration for Sam and Dean for being actual ghost hunters.
Yeah.
They still call them like douche nozzles and like just pepper
ass
insults, ass wipes, like any chance they get, they're like, "Curse."
Yeah.
But they gave us all of this information, you know, and they gave us all,
Yeah. So
step by step ghost hunting.
Their steps of ghost hunting are: number one, find out what you're up against. Yes. So Sam and Dean find that the ghost is named P.T. Sandover. He was the founder of the company. He, quote unquote, was the company. His very blood pumped through it. In 1929, which was an economic disaster.
The Depression, yeah.
The company had 17 suicides. And now, during, I think it was probably 2008 or 2009.
Yep, another economic crash.
Yes.
Not the Depression, but it was like a huge recession.
Yeah. As Dean said, the biggest economic downturn since the Depression. Yep. And now, you know, they've had 2 suicides in 2 days. So maybe this guy just becomes active during times of economic distress so he can try and save his company.
Right. Turning, well, I think it comes later, but it's essentially like turning inefficient workers into worker bees.
Yeah.
You know, and just focused on work.
Yes. And who will commit harakiri if they fail?
I always thought it was Harry Carey, but I looked it up. It is not. That's a mispronunciation. Harikiri. Well, it basically is killing yourself with a knife and tearing up your internal organs. Yay for that. So back to the Ghostfacers, who still, I'll say that Sam and Dean, while they suck ass, major suckage, also told them about salt and how to use salt for killing ghosts. Salt is like acid, but not fun. Bad trip. Trip for ghosts. And how to use rock salt in shotguns. Mm-hmm. And of course, Sam and Dean in this current age are like, well, where would we get guns?
A gun store?
A gun store?
Well, yeah, actually, you probably could get guns at a gun store.
Anyway, they're so straight laced and like law abiding, you know?
And iron, which is why the wrench worked. Ghosts aren't scared of wrenches, they're scared of iron.
And also, ... PS, like before you cut away from this instructional video, oh yeah, you also, if you're dealing with a ghost, may have to salt and burn the remains, which requires you digging up the body, which could be illegal in some states, which is like possibly all states. God, I love them. They're so freaking funny. Yes.
And if the body is cremated, then you'll have to look elsewhere for some genetic remains. Now, these scenes were all directed in LA. So the guys, the Ghostfacer guys, were in LA and they filmed the scenes there. They were directed by, Phil Screecha, who was there.
Oh.
Yeah, so he popped in and said, hey, let's film some of these scenes. I wonder, I don't know for sure, but I feel like a lot of this was probably improv.
Oh.
Like just go with it. Here are the points that you need to hit. Just do a fun run, you know, just kind of go. Because I feel like these guys are very much
a good, like yes, and. Yes.
Like they said something about milk teeth.
Yes.
And Harry just like looks over at him. He's like he makes a face. It was just
like
weird.
Genetic material. Yeah, it's like, why did he go down that road? Because he also had that look on his face like milk teeth. Yeah. It's like, who calls baby teeth milk teeth? I don't even know what
milk teeth are.
It's baby teeth. Oh. Yeah, it's because you're still nursing. Milk teeth. It's the teeth you get while you're still nursing.
Ugh, I don't like that term.
But see, that's the thing is like, why would you call it that? Like, what American slang, like what American vernacular says that?
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes, 100% that. I hope that was improv. And I
hope so too.
So cut to Sam and Dean shoving all this stuff into a duffel bag. Like a fire poker into a duffel bag. They've got salt. I'm assuming they didn't have a gun because they didn't make it to a gun store in that time. And they head off to the office building and head to the 14th floor. I wrote a note about most modern office buildings, even modern office buildings, don't have a 13th floor.
Yes. So here's an interesting tidbit. And I know something like that about this because of the industry that I work in. because back in the day, people would not list something as the 13th floor. It has screwed up so much paperwork. There are things, at least in New York City, called a certificate of occupancy, which is a document that you need to have in order to legally have, it's not just for residential buildings, but it lists like, this is allowed to be a residential building. This is allowed to be a retail building. This is allowed to be a dining establishment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But also because of like the various approvals that you need to get done if you want to have any kind of renovation or even if a pipe bursts or something, if it's on the 13th floor and there's no legal documentation for the 13th floor, it really puts a wrench in things. If I could use that phrase.
When I lived in Singapore, there was no building that had a 13th floor.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, here in the States, I don't see 13 as a floor. And having said that, in the next scene or in a couple of scenes, we see Sam in an elevator, and it does flash goes from 14 to 13 to 12. I was like, damn it, they have a 13th floor.
There's definitely 13th floors. 13th and that's floors? Probably because of whenever they started, okay, we need to get serious about the kind of paperwork that we're doing here.
Right. There's a 13th
people probably like came to their senses and be like, we can't fucking do this. We can't just not have a 13th floor.
Okay. I'm going to just say that from the time that from 80 to 86, living in Asia, no building that I went into had a 13th floor. All right. So they go to the 14th floor.
Which, by the way, used to be the tallest floor in that building. And that's why everything is happening on the 14th floor. Because that used to be the old guy's office, was that room.
Right.
So they're searching around the room. Sam gets caught by a security guard. Dean, thankfully, does not. He is able to hide in time. The security guard takes Sam into the elevator to take him off to, I don't know, building jail.
The police. Yeah, I guess. I went in and the elevator goes down past the 13th floor, which I was like, damn it.
Yeah. It stops.
And then malfunctions.
Malfunctions, yes. And the security guy does the emergency key and makes it stop. He manually opens the doors and it's sort of in between floors. Which we all know what's going to happen now.
But
it doesn't happen when I thought it was going to happen, because he's sitting there crawling out and taking for fucking ever to crawl out of this elevator.
Kicking his feet. Even Sam was like,
anytime. Yes. Sam was all of us. Sam was all of us in this scene. He's like,
what's going to happen? It's good with it.
And
but the guy crawls out. He makes it out. And then turns around
and sticks his head back in. And he's like, come on, man, we got to go. I'm not waiting 6 hours.
Well, I don't have the rest of my life. And then the elevator drops, cuts the guy in half. Half of his body is still kicking on the higher floor. The other half of his body is in the elevator with Dean, and with Sam, which thankfully we don't see. But there was an amazing splatter that Sam just gets.
Yep.
All up in his face. He just gets 100% splattered. I was like, all right, supernatural, game on.
Yep.
And of course, as soon as that happens, Dean comes on the walkie-talkie phone. He's like, Sam, you okay?
I've seen Resident Evil. I will never, ever crawl out of an elevator like that.
No. And again, having lived in a high rise, the number of times that you get stuck in an elevator is more than you think.
Yeah, I got stuck once in the, what's it called? Like the loading elevator or the
freight
elevator at Century 2 in Wichita.
Oh,
that was scary.
That's scary. Luckily, that's only like a 4-story building, though.
Yes, but you're not in like a nice cozy.
No, you're in a death trap with you're in a crate that has like grates on either side that you can. We have to jaws of death open this door before these doors open, and
While Sam has been dealing with this like
severed body,
severed body, Dean kind of found a light bulb moment in the office. He pulls up a framed picture and you just see something go off in his brain. And then he has Sam, who somehow escaped the elevator, meet him on floor 22.
He's like, I'll meet you up there. Just don't take the elevator.
Yeah.
So here's the best part, not the best part, a great part. When they finally meet up on the 22nd floor, Dean sees Sam. Sam has since at least wiped his face, but his shirt is still covered in blood. Dean says, "Well, it's a lot of blood." And Sam's like, "Yeah, it is." And that's it. It's like, all right, we're getting closer and closer to Sam and Dean, which is like, this is everyday life for them.
Yes. Yes. No, like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
What's going on? It was just, that's a lot of blood. No more questions asked about.
No more questions asked. That's a lot of blood. Dean found P.T. Sanders' personal, like, work gloves, which were encased in glass.
Yeah, it's like this giant shadow box type of thing on a display on the 22nd
like a memorial,
floor, which is actually kind of cool for a corporate office to do. It's not a bad idea. But Dean, I think, on seeing that framed photo, is like, oh, I pass by this memorial wall every single day.
Yeah.
And there's gloves, so I bet there's like fingernail clippings or something in them.
Skin or something in them.
Yeah. So they're like, great, let's do it. They break open the glass, and right when they break open the glass, then poof, Ghost Man appears.
Ghost Man appears. We see the breath. They both, Sam and Dean, both take turns because they're prepared, swinging at the ghost with the like fire pokers from Dean's fireplace and stuff.
Yeah, they're like good partners, and they're having a good time because they're like tossing it back and forth to each other. They're catching it, they're swinging it around in time in just the right spot, and they're like, "Good job, yeah, good job,
yeah, you got it."
It's a lot of finger like
it's a finger pistol.
Yes. Good job.
But it's like, so they swing at the ghost, he disappears. They swing at the ghost, he disappears. He keeps doing the ghosty thing, which is reappearing. And finally, the ghost is able to get the upper hand on both of them and like smashes Dean against the wall and then turns and, smashes Sam. Sam isn't as, knocked down as Dean is. And now the ghost is like walking towards Dean, doing his like static electricity thing with his fingers. I was like, he's going to kill him with static electricity. He's shuffling his feet on the carpet. I thought that was kind of not very intimidating. But for Dean, who doesn't know, who's never been around ghosts before, this is pretty scary, even though we know.
Right. But also, he was there to like turn him into like a worker bee who then would become obsessed with his work. And who knows if you can snap them out of it.
Unsnap it. Right. Exactly.
Yes. So he's cornered Dean, but it gives Sam plenty of time because he's just shuffling towards him to grab the gloves, light them on fire, and they burst into blue flame.
Which is beautiful.
Yes, and so does the ghost. He fizzles out into a flame. Away.
Which is great because it was so like uneventful that he just kind of went foof. Yeah. There was no like, or you meddling kids or anything like that. It was just
so uneventful, but the boys are so proud of themselves.
Excited. Yeah, they're like, that was amazing. And we're all at home going, that's what you do.
Yeah, it's like, are you kidding? That was the lamest thing that you guys have done.
Literally, that was the worst ending of a ghost. We've seen better, but they're totally like, that was a great workout. We should quit our jobs, go on the road and do this for real. Like, this should be our jobs.
That is Sam's point of view.
Yes.
He's like, we should do this. This is our
calling.
Our calling, yeah. And then he's admitting, he's like, okay, these dreams that I've been having about ghosts, I'm actually fighting them, and I'm actually fighting them with you. You're there too. And we're like,
it's like, you're my best friend.
Maybe brothers? Maybe this isn't actually our life. Maybe a ghost somewhere zapped our brains and we're like living some sort of alternate reality, which is very plausible, especially since we've seen things like the Jinn, who has done that exact same thing.
Right. But this is still me saying, get there faster, get there faster. It's like, figure it out, you guys. We don't know what's actually going wrong, but we know what's wrong. It's like, we know who you are. We know what the problem is. We just don't know how it's a problem. Like, how did this happen?
Yeah. Dean does not want to get there. He's the one that's like putting the roadblocks up because Sam is like, all right, I know that I have a family. I know that I had a fiance named Madison.
Which I was like,
ooh, but then when they tried to call her, it turns into it's actually an animal hospital, which was like,
I was like, that is sick. That was sick writing right there.
I was like,
that's cold. That's cold call on Madison.
Yeah.
Or little werewolf, but not Jess.
No, Jess. And Dean's little alternate
family.
Life, he went to Stanford.
Bob, yes.
His parents are Bob and Ellen, and with his sister Jo. It's like, oh boy.
Right?
Okay.
So Jo always was more sisterly.
I think she turned into that, yeah.
Yeah. So the brothers at this point are still switched. Now Sam is the one saying, we need to go hunt people, not hunt people. I did it again. Hunt things, save people. And Dean is the one saying, no, well, how do we do that? How would we live? Well, would we steal credit cards? How, without a health plan? What are you thinking? The brothers are definitely switched.
Yes, he names all of the surviving on credit cards, on greasy food at the diner, on staying in crappy motel rooms every night. That is no way to live.
But Sam still pushes. He's like, when was the last time you talked to your family? How is this real? Explain to me how this is real.
Yeah. Dean cannot get on board. And he was like, you know what? I think you should just go. You're stepping into out of my comfort zone like way too much. Just go.
But Sam oversteps when he says, I know you.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And Dean turns into 100% Dean in our reality right now, which is, you don't know me. I'm not that person, which is exactly what Dean's been saying at the end of the last episode. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
It takes a righteous man to, do all this. I'm not that guy. And this is exactly what Dean is saying here. I'm not that guy. You don't know me. He doesn't know that's what he's saying. We know that's what he's saying.
So now we are the next day. Here's our office space.
Back to the grind.
Yeah, back to the grind again. Another little montage,
Printers.
but then it's like the Office Space homage, where Sam just cannot take yet another call to tell somebody to turn off and then on their machine again, and he slowly stands and just takes a fire poker, which he just had underneath his desk, smashes the hell out of his phone, destroys it, and just says, "I quit." What a badass way to quit.
It was very Winchester-y.
Yeah.
And I was like, who hasn't? I wrote down so satisfying. I was like, who hasn't wanted to do that? Yeah. I mean,
we don't all carry right now.
Don't carry fire poker. Do you have a fire poker in your apartment?
I should bring one. I should buy a fire poker and just hold it underneath my desk. Tape it underneath.
Just in case.
The day will come, and it will come.
In case of emergency, break glass.
Yes. Sam has done that. He quits in the most badass fashion possible.
Very Office Space.
Just leaves.
Yeah.
Upstairs on the 22nd floor, Dean is, typing. He's not really focused. And then Mr. Adler comes in and does the whole corporate move of writing a number on a piece of paper. He's like, how is this for you?
There's your bonus.
Yeah. We just want you to stick around. It's
for 8 to 10 more years, and that bonus is all yours.
I love the incentive that he gives here. It's just you just gotta eat lunch at your desk, be at work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just basically work 24 hours a day. In 8 to 10 short years, you could be VP of something or other.
Erie, Pennsylvania, or something.
Yeah.
It's no. And Dean actually was no.
Yeah. He quits, not in as badass of a version as Sam, but he's like, I'm putting in my notice.
I have something else I need to do. And, Mr. Adler's like, another job? Somebody's poaching you away from us? He's like, no, there's just something else in life I need to be doing. And instead of being mad, Adler kind of sits back and smiles and goes, Dean, finally. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? It's Adler. Adler's had something to do with Sam and Dean in this thing. And he leans forward and does the old 2-finger touch the forehead.
Angel touch, yeah.
Yep, onto Dean's head. And then, poof, suddenly, I didn't realize this. I didn't notice it until it went away. All the color, all the bright and vibrantness of this episode washed away, and it dropped right back into regular supernatural,
dark
slightly
and dingy
gray, dark, dingy wash over. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't, and you wouldn't have noticed it until they showed the contrast.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, good for them. Because I normally would have been like, gee, it's super bright. Because I've done that sometimes. I'm like, the sun is shining in this episode. This can't be, they can't be in Canada because the sun is shining, But in this episode, I didn't catch it. And so it wasn't until Adler leans in, touches Dean on the forehead, all the color goes away, and Dean kind of wakes up. He's like, well, did you? And he knows it right away. He's like, you're an angel.
Yeah, damn it.
God damn it. Touched by an angel again.
Yes, stop.
Yeah.
Like, that's his feel. I think that's like his innermost feeling is like, stop fucking with me. I'm so tired of it. So this guy, Mr. Adler, his real name, Zachariah, who is now kind of stepping in as, or he is Cass's superior, but now he's stepping down onto Earth due to the Uriel situation.
Right.
So now he's kind of got to keep a closer eye on things.
I got to keep my ducks in a row. And Dean's like, I am not one of your ducks. And he says this in all seriousness, which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, yeah, I'm not one of your ducks.
And Zachariah says he created this little play to make Dean realize that he's destined to be a hunter and destined to stop the apocalypse. He also impresses that this is not a curse, but a gift. Because not only can he hunt ghosts and stuff, but he also gets to do it riding a super cool sports car and gets to
having
sleep
sex
around with women. So I don't see the problem here, man.
Win-win. Yeah. And it's not because of God, God didn't do this to you. It's you. You do this. You will always find your way back to this life, as evidenced by what just happened.
Right.
We took you out of that life and you still found your way back to it. This is you. You are this guy. So quit telling yourself that you're not this guy. You are this guy.
Yeah. So are you ready to stand up and be who you really are? Yeah. And we don't get an answer.
No. There's a good line in there just before that blackout, though, that Dean is very Dean in this moment. And he's just like, angel or no angel, I will still stab you in the face. Given all the shit you just laid on me, he's like, dude, I don't care if you're Castiel's superior. I'm still going to stab you in the face because I hate you fucking angels, which I loved.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yep.
But I do like that we're left with we don't get a Dean retort because I think he is kind of taking it in.
He's like, well, he can't deny it.
He's kind of trapped. He's kind of trapped into
he was played. He literally was played, and there's no backing out of that. He did exactly what the angel wanted him to do. Decoupage aside, which I kind of thought was kind of funny. Dean was like, thinking about leave it to Dean to think that decoupage has something to do with décolletage. Which I think is funny because we often in opera refer to cleavage as clavage, so that we're not saying cleavage, because in opera, I hate to say it, there's a lot of cleavage.
There's a lot of cleave.
And often women on stage aren't given a place to put things, so they'll put it in there, what we call the opera purse, which is into the cleavage.
Clavage.
Yes. Where did that come from? The clavage.
Yes.
Your opera purse. I thought it was funny. I thought it was clever. Actually, I did think it was clever. Especially given that we use the word clavage so much in my job. Just FYI. So that's how that episode ends.
It ends. And I kind of wish, and I'm sure it will be discussed in the next episode, which I haven't seen yet. I wanted to know Sam's reaction.
Right. At the end of this, I was like, where is Sam in all of this? I literally was like, wait,
where's... burst through the door and be like, whoa, dude.
What the fuck I remember. Yeah. Why is everything so gray and dingy? And why am I wearing a polo? And I literally had that thought. I was like, what about Sam? I mean, Sam was a huge hero in this episode.
Yes.
Door kicking in, figuring out that they weren't meant to be, douchebag,
they
sales
aren't
reps.
Actually these people. He was like, there is something else going on here.
But boop, no Dean. I mean, no Sam. Where is he in the end of this episode?
Yeah. I'm sure it will be part of like the opening scene in the next episode. They're in a car or in a diner. Like, Wow, that really happened? I honestly don't know for sure.
What
I
is the
haven't.
next episode?
It
I didn't
is
watch it. I didn't even like look at the teaser.
it is the monster at the end of this book. I didn't look at the teaser either, but if you just think about book,
Books. Okay. Yep. Okay. Well,
you'll
but they're
get
so
there.
okay. I think I know what comes next.
A lot of things like moving fast now.
Finally, but it's so funny that I wrote down. I'm like, get there quicker.
Yeah.
But for
We're
me,
gonna get
I'm
there quick.
always yeah, I'm always saying this is supernatural. Here's my beef, and it's a good beef with supernatural. I am always fighting for the moment when Sam and Dean are back being brothers and working together. And of course, the greatest conflict in supernatural is the brothers working against themselves for any given reason, whether it's outer influences or their inner influences. So I'm always wanting them to be back together. And right now, they are not together.
Right. Right now, at least in this episode, they're not. And even in the last one, they weren't together, but they weren't against each other either.
But there's the secret keeping, and there's the distrust. Yeah. And I'm like, get past it, you guys. Let's get back to being kick-ass brothers and working together. Be the douche nozzle jackasses that Ghostfacers, talk about.
Yes.
We know so much about them. It's like, get back to who we know you're supposed to be. And of course, that's the biggest drama out of this entire series. I know,
that's what makes boring TV is like when they're working together.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So right now I'm kind of like, get there faster.
Yes.
Figured out.
I loved this episode. I had a really good time.
I did too.
Watching it.
I kind of like being in the know. Like sometimes I like knowing more than the characters.
Yes.
There was humor all around. It wasn't like slapstick, but it was fun. It must have been hard for the characters to act like they didn't know.
Right.
There's some great outtakes in this. I didn't mention them, but there's some funny outtakes.
Mm-hmm.
Just some, I mean, a lot of them were just technical outtakes. Like, anytime that Sam got on the elevator with Dean, he'd be like, but my button's already pressed. So how do I know what floor to be going to? And Jensen's like, it doesn't matter. Just press the button. We've all done it. We've all pressed the button that's already lit up. Just do it. And so the number of times that like Jared came in and out of the elevator, Jared's like, just get in the elevator. Stuff like that. I would have loved to have seen the number of takes it took to get just the right blood splatters. Like how many times did they splatter Jared with blood?
Yeah, and have to change shirts and wipe the face off.
Exactly. So there's some, this is when they really started to, I think, ramp up with the recording the outtakes.
Good.
Yeah, there's some good
I'll definitely watch that on the DVD.
Dude.
At the end when we wrap the season up. I like to wait until the season is done.
Save the best for last. Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anyway, I love this episode too. I thought it was clever writing. I thought it was a great arc because again, I feel stupid that I didn't notice the things until it was like slap you on the face. I was like, duh,
Smith
and Wesson. They're not the Winchesters, but they're another gun maker.
Kind of gun, yeah.
Sure. Oh God, I wish you could have seen my face. I wish you could have seen my face when I was just like, oh, they got me.
I was a little proud of myself that I caught it because I'm not really a gun person. Like I don't know different types of guns or anything like that.
Right, but Smith and Wesson
I do know a Smith and Wesson.
It wasn't like they were like Zig Hauer,
Couldn't tell you what it looks like. I don't know what a Smith and Wesson looks like, but I do know that it is
it's a gun.
I know it's a fancy type of gun. That man, I just love this show because I love when they go meta like this, and it's happening more and more now. But I also love like the really deep intrinsical episodes. It's just it's got a little bit of everything, and it's just so good.
It really does. It's actual writing.
Yeah.
People kind of brush it off as like, oh, they're just ghost hunters or something.
Yeah, it's like no.
The comedy of the Ghostfacers.
There's more.
So, all right. So next week is
the monster at the end of this book.
At the end of this book. Okay.
I know that title. Like I know what that title is referring to.
So I'll just have to wait until we, talk about it to find out what that means. Just like I didn't know give a mouse a cookie.
Yes.
Which I was sent that book, by the way.
Really?
After that episode, I was sent the book.
No way. Who sent it to you?
Shannon.
Did you read it?
I did. And I was like, oh, yeah. Even my sister called me after that. She's like, you read that book to your nieces. I'm like, did I? Yeah. So now it's on my bedstand. It's on my nightstand.
There's a sequel too.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It's If You Give a Moose a Muffin.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Great. Now that's going to come in the mail.
I know we've been a little bit sporadic with our scheduling. It's going to continue to be a little bit more sporadic just because I'm going on vacation. I will not be able to record anything. You are in very, very long days. So
that'll teach me to ever say, oh, this is going to be easy. I literally said, I'm going to have so much time. And then, nope, like less time than I've ever had.
Right. Well, that was me a couple months ago. Me like, oh yeah, I can do all of these things at once. No, I can't. At least not be sane and do all of these things at once. So we will see you next time. I do not know when it will be, but I will try to at least put out some repeat episodes during the time we're gone. So at least you can re-listen to us jammer on about various things.
Right.
So with that in mind, please subscribe to us. We are on all podcast platforms. Please rate us anywhere that allows a rating. It's a huge help. We are on social. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. We're on YouTube. You can listen to us there if that's your kind of thing. If you just like to watch the little sound waves go while we're talking, we are very close to having all of our episodes up there.
Almost.
In season playlists. So it's at your convenience. You can start at 1, then move on to 2, etc., etc. We're only on 4.
You could just have it playing in the background. You could just click play all. That's okay.
Play all. We love that. All right. So we will see you next time for The Monster at the End of This Book. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.